Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A light sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. Today, instead of having the lovely threesome, we're actually going to have a foursome. Whoop, whoop. So, a little craziness on the Crazy Life. With us, joining us today is Clint. Hey, Clint.
Hey, Jen. How you doing?
Fabulous. And we're going to get you started on your week as soon as I introduce Brian and Heno. So, hey, guys.
Howdy. Yo.
Making sure we got the gang all here.
Menage a quad.
Menage a quad.
Wow.
Well, lucky girl.
Heno would have just named the episode. Heno would have just named the episode if this was salty language.
It's true. This is true.
Well, I think he just named this week's Geek Dig.
and now I will have a horrible pun. Pardon my French.
Ooh.
I want the soundboard. Boo.
That was a serious dad joke there.
It was.
But yet we are all laughing, which is, I guess the beauty of dad jokes.
Yeah.
Well, Clint, why don't you start us off and tell us how your week's been?
Well, I think roller coaster would be the best way to describe it. Actually, I'll save the positive part for after. But basically, this started just over a week ago. I got a call that my sister-in-law was in the hospital in intensive care.
Oh.
After, finding out more information and going to the hospital, I was able to get the full story. She's had previous issues in the past with chemical dependencies, and one night she had taken this drug called Suboxone, which is meant to help with treating narcotic addictions and such.
Okay.
I don't know if she took too much or if she was sick or what, but she went to sleep that night, threw up in her sleep and couldn't wake up, so choked, got aspiration pneumonia. They estimated, based on her blood sugar, because there was no way of knowing for sure, but they estimated that she was like that, not breathing, for about 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
Oh, no.
When the EMT showed up, they were able to get a faint pulse. They basically froze her, brought down her body temperature really low.
That's right. Yeah.
To try to slow everything down. And try to stabilize some things. Once they brought her temp back up, they were able to do the MRIs and, other scans and things.
Sure.
Basically no brain activity. They determined that it was an irreversible coma. So there was the question then of, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Which was just a really hard decision for my stepbrother Joe anyway.
Yeah, I bet.
Obviously. And they have 3 kids. My nephews, Joey and Dominic, and my niece Jersey, respective ages 14, 12, and 10.
Oh my goodness.
Unfortunately, they were in the room when the doctors and the neurologists were explaining everything, which Joe gave, the doctors permission to let everybody know what was going on.
Right.
Unfortunately, the kids are hearing just the dirty details, and it's hard enough for them to process that, they're, that they don't know what's happening to their mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At that point. When they basically figured out that, they would end up having to pull the plug at some point, this, I think, made me cry harder than any other time I've cried in my life. Hearing my 12-year-old nephew Dominic say that he hoped that they would give her at least a week in case there was some miracle that would happen.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was literally the most heartbreaking thing I have ever heard in my life.
Wow.
But through some other, and this whole past week was a bunch of ups and downs, as far as they saw they took her off the ventilator. She was breathing on her own a bit. They saw a couple little twitches in her finger and things like that. And a lot of that can be attributed to just the involuntary, spasms and things, like when the body's, breaking down. And basically they decided and moved her into the hospice on Friday night. They unplugged all of the, other tubes and support. They discontinued care. So right now we're at the point where we're just waiting for a phone call.
Wow.
Well,
Man.
wow.
So yeah, it's been a very tragic week in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
On a different note, with all of this going on, I had my review at work, which ended up going very well.
Oh, good.
Good. Yeah.
So that was very promising. One of the things that, well, of course, when you're having the discussion, they're going to want to give an area of opportunity and say, what they think you should try to develop in. And Ron, my supervisor, said that he felt that I should, and he wrote this before I started actually doing this, but he said you should get more involved with training and mentoring the new hires and just start sharing some of that experience that you have. Because I also just hit 11 years on the job.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's like, and that's actually something that I've been doing. With the last 2 training classes that came in, I actually helped with the mentoring side of it. And it's a lot, and I'm doing pretty well at it. I'm really enjoying it. Other than it being just a nice switch from my normal duties, I like that level of interaction that I'm, getting to do. And there's this very positive feeling that's very encouraging when I'm passing something on to somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps them, and it's helping, set them up for, for success on that job. And there's just something awesome about that.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, I started in this last couple of weeks, but you know, both dates have been, you know, like today and last Sunday. I had a couple dates with this awesome girl. A buddy of mine convinced me. Well, he went through a lot of convincing to get me to sign up on Tinder.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, as you guys know me and my reservations in the dating world,
Yeah.
that I practically laughed in his face when he told me to do this. I'm like, have you seen me? I'm like, I'm not doing this. No. I was like, I'll be setting up myself for this appointment. I don't think so. But he convinced me, and I was like, fine, if it'll get you to shut up, I'll install it. I'll swipe a few times. And I swiped on this girl, Kate, because she seemed really nice. She looked kind of adorable in her, in her profile picture. She was like holding up her two little dogs.
Aw.
And I was like, oh, they look like happy puppies. I was like, that means she's got to have a good heart. So it turns out, fortunately, she swiped on me as well.
Nice.
And we were talking, and we went out last Sunday, and we went out again today. And it was very encouraging. There's so many ways that we seem to be on the same wavelength about things. Slowly but surely, I'm letting her know, you know, just some of the, you know, different things that go into dating me.
Right.
Like my not being able to drive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've met at the places, and like today, it was really cool. She just offered to give me a ride home, so I didn't have to try to get an Uber or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was just really sweet.
Yeah.
It's really
That's nice
awesome.
of her to do.
Well,
Yeah.
a good way to end a rough week.
Yeah. So it's like, despite all of that going on, and I have to say it's weird. There's a degree of guilt that's going on too, because I feel like with all of this tragedy going on and everything, I feel like that I should be more focused on the family and, you know, trying to, you know, get their needs. But instead, things are moving forward with like work, this possibility of a relationship, and
Well, I have
it's just the timing is freaking horrible.
but I have to ask one question.
Yes.
If it was somebody else, if it was a good friend of yours or a relative that during all of this they found some happiness, would you feel mad at them, or would you be supportive and love them and want the best for them?
Well, I think we all know me well enough that I would definitely be very happy for them and definitely want them to have the best, and I wouldn't want them to put their lives on hold.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's ultimately, and it's something, my whole point was you know, for the audience as well as for you to think about, is make sure you keep in mind that guilt is self-created. And those feelings are self-created. Like, nobody else wants you to feel, you know, obviously you're going to feel sad regardless, but nobody wants you to put your life on hold or not to experience joy in the midst of all this sadness. So just when you get those feelings, just make sure you keep in mind you're just doing it to yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, even my mom was like, okay, yes, you need to go on this date and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, she could be pushing for more grandbabies. I don't know.
Yeah, she's.
I was like, push all you want, woman. I don't think so.
There's always the ulterior motives of those parents, I tell you.
Uh-huh.
That's funny. Yeah, she's right though.
Taught her by now.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know, because it would be different too. if there was something directly happening and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna skip that and go on and do this instead. You know, like,
Absolutely.
like when the family's like, hey, we should all come together now, and you're like, peace out, you know, like,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
that would be a little different or something, but even if something does happen, it's still the idea, you know, we just never know when one window closes on something, you know, you just don't know if that window will open again or what'll happen, you know, so it's just, I just think you're doing the right thing. Just live your best life, and, you know, the other stuff will fall into place. So, and you know yourself well enough to know you'll be there for him plenty, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the second I get a phone call, I'll drop whatever I'm doing.
Exactly.
And plus, the really cool thing with Kate is she has just been incredibly supportive through all of this.
Excellent.
Because the day I ended up going to the hospital was supposed to be our first date.
Mhm.
I had this whole plan. It was going to be like the perfect situation. Like, our first date was going to be live band karaoke, so I was going to get to, you know, rock the mic and impress her with my vocal stylings.
Right.
Although I did have to promise myself that I wasn't going to open with my typical Bon Jovi, because I do "You Give Love a Bad Name."
Probably not the best for first date song.
No,
Depends on how she feels about Bon Jovi, you know.
this is true.
Could be Poison's Every Rose. So, you know, hey.
Yeah. Or it could be Alice Cooper's Poison. Who knows?
True.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Or Belle Biv DeVoe's Poison. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, you know, whether you believe in God or Buddha or karma or whatever your chosen beliefs are, there's people are brought into our lives for reasons. At least that's my belief. And the timing of when they come into our lives is not coincidental. You know, there's a good possibility that she was brought into your life at this point because they know that you needed somebody to kind of help you distract you a little bit and also help you get through this tough time and thus make you a stronger person so you can be stronger for your stepbrother and for those kids. So, you know, I don't believe in coincidences all too often. I think they do exist. But for the most part, I truly believe that things get orchestrated by somebody else's hands to kind of fit together in unexpected ways.
Yeah. Nothing. It's like that old saying: "Nothing happens by accident."
Yeah, exactly. So,
cool.
Well, that's awesome. You know, I'm glad that your week has a positivity to it, and you know, of course, my heart goes out to your family. I mean, it's just tragedy, and nobody should have to go through that, especially such young kids. Yeah. But you know, so obviously, you know, I'm sure I can speak for all of us in saying that we wish you the best. Yeah. In, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, my family went through this just about a year ago. So basically the same thing, actually. My sister-in-law she was found unconscious and, you know, and, unfortunately it turned out she didn't end up making it, you know, so, and they had 4 kids. So it's, you know, and they're like 16, 14, you know, the ages are fairly similar. The 2 younger ones are a little younger, but you know, so I you know, I wasn't super close to her anymore, but it wasn't you know, it's still the idea, like, I could see the hurt with everybody else, you know, it's a rough thing to deal with, so, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like, even though I wasn't talking to her all the time, I mean, there's just that empathy, you know, and just seeing it in everybody else, you know, just what's going on with everybody, and I mean, obviously, even though the, like, where they live and where the hospital and everything is in Dyer, Indiana. So not exactly easy for me to get out there.
Right.
But I think that's also why I only tried to get out there just the one day is just, it was, I mean, at the time, it was just too hard for me to do anything more.
Sure.
But that's okay too. And, you can't hold yourself accountable for all of the negative. It just, life happens, and unfortunately you don't have the capabilities of getting around as quickly as some people may. But these are people who love you, and part of loving you is loving all of you, and they understand. So just make sure you don't don't hurt yourself in the process for no reason. You want to make sure that when you're going through all of this, make sure that you keep the perspective of, what, I'm loving them and I'm doing the best I can to love them, and they love me because of me. It's tough to do sometimes because we want to kind of get down on ourselves, but
yeah, I've been fortunately, and this has actually been awesome, just the level of support and just the support network that's really pulled together. Not just at work, with my supervisor Ron and a couple of the guys that have known me there for a really long time. But Ron, because I got the call on a Thursday afternoon, I ended up finishing out that work day because there was just nothing I could do. But he's like, yeah, you're gone the rest of the week. I'm like, no, I was like, no, dude, I'll be there tomorrow, but I'll come in Saturday because I'm on a Tuesday through Saturday schedule. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're not going to be here. I texted him Saturday morning and he's like, yeah. But then because of everything, I missed a reminder email that I was supposed to work Monday for President's Day, and I'm normally off on Mondays. So that was an interesting conversation to have on Tuesday.
I bet it was.
He's like, you know what? I honestly anticipated this was going to happen. I already worked everything out. You're good.
Well, that's good.
That's good on his part, because it's is to really kind of hey, his mind might not be in everything right now, and just set yourself up so that you're not short staffed or whatever. That was a good move.
Yeah, and he knows a lot of things about me too. Just he knows. I mean, he's one of the very few people that knows. But as far as me. Seeing a therapist, being on an antidepressant. I've had to take mental health days for things in the past.
Sure.
But, and it's just, the support there is definitely reassuring. But even in just other friends, being able to talk to you earlier in the week. And I have a local buddy, Joe. As soon as he heard and found out, he called me Saturday and he's like, dude, you just say the time, I am coming over and we are going to hang out today. He's like, I do not want you to be alone. And a buddy of mine that I grew up with that I'd known since I was 5, we hadn't talked for a while, this guy Pete. He knew Ginger, he knew the whole family and everything, and he even called me and he's like, dude, I'm coming over tonight, text me your address.
Yeah, nice.
And it wasn't even so much that I had to reach out for people, and I've also just made a couple just stupid well, I don't want to say stupid decisions, but just decisions where I'm just you know what? I'm now is the time that I need to sort of shut down for a while or whatever. And people were, the couple of people that I was just kind of, pulling from at the moment, they were just no, dude, we get it. We're here. You definitely need that. So it's just the fact that everybody has been so understanding and supportive has also just made this a lot easier because I didn't realize how much, I didn't realize, lies until looking back at it now, like how much I was going to end up needing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was just already there, set in place.
Yep.
It was like somebody noticed and they were like, rally the troops.
Gotta love a great support system. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Man down. Medic!
Yep.
Exactly.
Really is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's it. I want to hear about you guys now.
All right.
Sorry to like monopolize the whole episode.
Not at all. Not at all. You are our guest, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
But, Hanno, guess what?
I've been gone the longest.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
So how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. I like Clint. What Clint brought up is like right off the bat. I'm like, what a perfect topic. You know, it's like, what do you do when things are going great for you, but things aren't so great for,
sure.
You know, while something else really bad is happening. You know, it's such a good topic. It just reminded me a lot of times in my life too, where, you know, I've had those situations, but I have nothing like that. I've just been, the great thing has been I've played music now twice with, and playing bass, with, Hart and Dave. And it was just unbelievably awesome, you know, compared to last month's, playing music. This was just like night and day. And it just reminded me how much I love doing this and how much it's a part of me. And even if I'm not playing, you know, what has been my primary instrument, it's the collaboration and being with people. And we laugh so hard because we are screwing up left and right.
Yeah.
And it's just darn funny. And the reason it's funny is because we're all really good musicians. You know, we've paid our dues. Between the three of us, we probably have 75 years of music experience at least.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I mean, we've all been playing music for at least 25 years.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to be, you know, starting over again and learning. And then, just like this we played on Saturday and we just had one of these moments where Hart and I suddenly started playing something together, which, you know, Dave and I locking in or hitting stuff, that's not unusual. We've been playing together for, you know, since 2010, but, you know, I've never played with Hart. And so for us to do some stuff together, it's really, it's a magical feeling. So that's been a huge rush for me. And has been really fun because I'm having to practice and anything that makes me apply myself to doing something new, I'm finding is, just becoming vastly rewarding, you know, and just another reminder again is it's just, you know, try something new. You know, it's like try something new every day. And so I've been doing that. I'll just pick a song. I'll have a song that I'll hear, or, you know, it's like earlier tonight, you know, while we were kind of warming up, I was like literally learning Rage Against the Machine bass lines.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Because it was just like, oh, you know, like I've never tried that before. So I just popped it up real quick. I looked at how it's played. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But little things like that just remind me how simple it is to do something new. You know, the hard part, as always, like we talk about, Brian and I talk about this all the time. It's finding that inspiration.
Yeah.
And so I am stoked to be inspired, and I'm diving into it because we don't always have, you know, like you're talking, you know, we don't know when things are going to fall into our laps, whether it's you know, a love interest or, you know, a new job opportunity. You know, that's in my life, in my household, things are a lot different now because Sharon is like just on fire with work possibilities.
Awesome.
And it's just changed everything. She got
really quick. Sorry, let me interrupt you real quick. Isn't it amazing how when you were first talking about like that she was going to be quitting and stuff, there was that nervousness about it, and you were like kind of like a, you know, we'll be fine type of a situation, and you know, and again, approaching it with that mentality rather than going down the rabbit hole of, well, if I don't work, then we won't be able to this. We can, you know, like focusing on all the can'ts or negatives, you know, and now, you know, things are looking up and the whole time, and, you know, no one's beating themselves up really, you know, that's awesome.
And that was the one thing, we have a good friend, Chad, who he's a architect and he'd been working for a firm for a long time and he really wanted to go out on his own. And, he'd gone to school, he'd got his degree, and he was so afraid of going out on his own. All he was thinking about was all the things that could go wrong. And he never thought about what could go right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where he actually has too much work. He's had to hire people.
That's a good problem.
Right? Yeah. And so Sharon and he talked, and that was his advice to Sharon is like, hey, don't do what I did. Yeah. And sure enough, it's happening. She crushed herself the last few weeks over at her old job. I mean, just killed herself. And I was like, why are you killing yourself? And she's like, because I want to leave on really good footing and I want to be able to have return possibilities. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I can see that, and sure enough on the rescue side, on not the business aspect, but the actual animal rescue part of it, they're passing the word around that Sharon's doing dog sitting, and she's getting phone calls like all the time. Word's gotten out that she's getting involved with the private events. And so she's already gotten a couple of local events that have lost either their lead person or some support people, and they're looking for other people. And she's getting to the point where she's filling out a calendar going, wow, every month is going to be filled with an event. She got a part-time job working at a botanical garden, and it's just that like nice little guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the time she's doing what she's going to do. And so between us this week, there was a couple of times where, relationship stuff. It was just a communication thing. And I expressed myself immediately, like she interrupted me. I was starting to tell a story and she interrupted me. And what I do is I just get quiet. Mm-hmm. I'll just, mm-hmm. and it's a little passive aggressive, but it's just like, are you done? And then I say, and I address it though right then and there. I say, I was telling you something and you interrupted me about something absolutely silly. And then 2 days later, it happened again. But this is, but she wasn't feeling well. So that, that's fine. But her response to me was mentioning that I've seemed distant lately. Okay. Well, that's not specific. That's a very broad term.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow me any opportunity to change behavior.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now I could say, but I could honestly say, yes, I have been distant because you've been in a working hell and I have made a choice to give you a lot of space. And that's what I did. I gave her a lot of space to get through that and to move on to the next thing. But like my response to the second time is I said, okay, this is twice now that, you've interrupted me. And, I just appreciate if I'm telling you something that you'll listen to me first, and I said, I appreciate what you told me, but it would be better if you gave me a specific when it happened rather than say, well, you've been like this lately, because like I said, that doesn't help me at all.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because if someone tells me that I've been distant, it does give me perspective because I know what I do when I'm getting distant with people, so that's like that notice. Like I actually had somebody mention last week to me that I had seen distant recently. And then I realized it was like, wow, I haven't been reaching out and talking to them. I haven't been, and it's like, so in my head, I immediately went down a checklist and was like, oh, wow, you know what? They're right. Kind of a thing. So it's interesting, just different scenario, how it can and also cannot help.
like for me, I said, there were other things that were said, but I was just like, well, I prefer that someone says that to me at the time because then I can correct the behavior. I can't, a vague, you've been snippy lately. Okay, can you give me a specific? Mm-hmm. Because then I can really address it because I want to. Yeah. To me, this is part of this is me learning how to be in a relationship.
Right.
Is I want to honor a request. It took me a long time to get over this thing about if your partner requests something, see if you can do it. It's like, it's a little thing. So.
Wait.
Compromise what I want to do for someone else?
Slow down.
No, sir.
At any rate. So, but I've been a little bit under the weather and this and that. And so, I mean, that's no big deal. I mean, the reason I missed last week, I tell you, I don't get headaches. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I know, Brian, you shared, you go through it. I mean, there's a friend that I'm hanging out with. She has just crushing migraines at times. And I had, it was last weekend. It started on Saturday and I went and played some music. And by the time I got back from playing music, I had light sensitivity and started feeling slightly nauseous. And I was just like, okay, I know what this is, and it's just like, I shut myself down. I didn't do anything. I knew I had to go to work the next day. And then woke up with the headache, it was like, oh boy. And that just I don't get that, and that's why, it was like, by the time I got done with work on Sunday, I'm like, I want the world off right now.
Yeah.
And
sure.
it just gives me so much more, it's honest empathy for people, cause, because I don't go through it very much. I can't possibly understand what it's like, but now I can, I'm willing to. And then, it's like, okay, started feeling better, boom, back to the gym, this and that. Thursday, woke up again, just felt terrible. But it was weird. It was just low battery.
Yeah.
Which it's one of my coworkers calls it that low battery. And I love it, that I'm low battery.
Yeah.
And today it was like I just overslept and, I made it to work and I'm just like, I'm just low battery. But, I've look at what my life's been the last couple of weeks. Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to complain about. And I go on vacation on Wednesday and I'll be traveling for 10 days and visiting friends and family. So
yeah,
awesome.
Life is really good. So
awesome. Well, I am going to switch things up and I'm going to go next if you don't mind, Brian.
No, go ahead.
All right, cool. That's really cool that things are going well for you, Hanno, and you're able to recognize it and enjoy it. Because I think sometimes we have a tendency to kind of look around, like, where's the other shoe going to fall? Or, and kind of second guess.
I was, and I went down and, real quick aside, I made a new friend. She's new in town and, I met her through Angela. And we just have a lot of things in common. And we were talking about fear and about fear driving our lives. And I can honestly say that fear no longer drives my life. Sure, I have days where I'm fearful, but it is not a fundamental in my life.
Whereas it is in mine.
When Sharon, right? When Sharon was doing this transition, I never had any fear. I had hope, but it wasn't unrealistic. I wasn't like blowing sunshine. I need, I'm always going to be semi-grounded and realistic, but I wasn't in that fear place. And I was sharing that with Tara, and it's just fun. It's fun. It's just, I'm so grateful to be able to actually say that out loud, that today fear does not drive my life.
Yeah. That's it. Listen, that is my goal, is to get to the point that I can say that. You know,
right?
Because I know fear is the primary driver in my life. It's been my inspiration for years. You have to have a job because I'm afraid of not having money, not having, it's like when I really looked back and looked through it all, fear really has driven everything about me, whether it's positive or negative, and again, that's what I've been working on in therapy, is trying to find ways to get ahead of that,
That's fabulous. That's good. So awesome to, like you said, Brian, I think that's a goal for many of us, is to be able to get to that place and be able to say that we live a fairly fearless life.
Yeah.
But, so my week's been pretty standard. It's tough because my days and nights are kind of blending together. So I kind of forget where I'm at with things and what day of the week it is and stuff. But working nights is starting to take its toll. But for the most part, I'm doing well. I have actually an interview next Tuesday. So I'm I'm pretty excited about that. It was something that just kind of came up. One day I was kind of frustrated and I was just tossing my resume out and just seeing what, responses I get. Not too serious about anything. And they called me. They actually emailed me and told me that they're incredibly impressed by my resume and my work history. And they would love to have the opportunity to have me come in and talk with them. So about some opportunities. So, which is cool because it would be a material planning / logistics analyst. And right now I'm just a logistics coordinator. So it would be a step up as far as the position's concerned. The company is fairly large and nationwide, so which is cool. And just a lot of benefits to it. There's some negatives. And one of the negatives is I would be on nights for 2 nights, and Monday, Tuesday night I'd be working, and Friday, Saturday during the day I'd be working. Good news, I only have to work 4 days, not 5. Bad news, 2 of them is overnight.
This feels like the Simpsons sketch with the cursed yogurt, So
it's kind of like
or Frogurt, yeah.
So we'll see how that all kind of plays out. But a couple things that have hit me is, one, I have that song, Should I Stay, Should I Go, popping through my head the entire, last week. But do I stay or do I go? But as my husband had to work today, so instead of staying home and watching TV or doing laundry or doing whatever the heck I want to do, I decided to go into work. While I was at work, I was at work for about 3 hours today, and my phone buzzed, and I looked down, and somebody on Facebook tagged me. And they tagged me, and it actually was my mother-in-law, and she tagged me in the post. Oh, come on. Got to bring it up so I get it right here. So don't do everyone's job because they're lazy. You definitely won't get the credit for it. So as I'm at work cleaning up a bunch of stuff, I look down and I get this post and I pop it up and I looked at it and I'm like, that's kind of nail on the head a bit there. And it's not necessarily because my coworkers are lazy, because I don't feel that they are. I just don't think they have the speed or the knowledge to be able to do as much as they could. Given more training, given more opportunity, things may be different. So I don't think it's necessarily laziness, but I think that kind of hit the nail on the head for me, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? And I started looking into codependency some more, and because, Hannah, we're going to do the episode, which we will do, about codependency that we talked about, that we put a pin in. I started looking up on codependency and started reading some of the questions around, are you codependent?
Yeah.
And one of them was, do you give without anyone asking you to do so, then get frustrated when they don't appreciate it? And stuff like that. Yep. And I'm like, and it's kind of caused me to take some step backs and just kind of look at things and go, and I have a really cool manager that I do talk with a lot. And, he keeps telling me to hang in there and, things will get better.
Right. The cat poster, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. But as everybody's been on this journey with me all along through the crazy life, you guys have realized that it's probably going on almost 8 months now that I've been, not on nights, of course, but I've been working such long hours for me and doing a lot of extra stuff that has been really life affecting. So it's interesting because then again, that little song, do I say or do I go? Do keeps popping through my head, because it's like, how do you know? How do you know what the right move is? Kind of ties in with Sharon. I'm sure Sharon went through very similar things. It's like, do I take these chances? And I hope that I can be fearless, and I'm trying to be as fearless as I can be, and also be aware of codependent nature that I do have, and understand that if I do decide to go away from the company that I'm at right now, if it's the best move for me, those that truly care about who I am as a person will support me and will care for me and want the best for me. Those that do not, I don't need to even have in my life, nor do I need to have them on my care spectrum, because, that's it. And they can, maybe if I stay with them, something great will happen. Maybe not. Who knows? Yeah. I just need to take a look at what I have in front of me and the decisions. If the interview turns into something, that'll make me have to make a decision. And so we'll see.
Yeah, and that's really all you can weigh it on, though, is what not what may be, because again, we can go look at distorted thinking and apply it here, that it's, it really is projecting things, doing would've, could've's, or, this will happen or whatever. So, yeah, there's a lot that can be applied there. So you're right. All you can really do is sit down, look at the facts of both things if you get offered, and then make it the best decision for you at that point.
Exactly. And it's neat. I'm very fortunate. I'm in a very fortunate position that I have some luxuries. My insurance is through my husband's company. So it's very good in it. I don't have to worry about that aspect of things. Financially, we're in an okay place. We're not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but whatever decision I make, it is not as important as it has been in my past to make sure I have the right salary, the right insurance, the right everything.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate to be able to have a little bit of luxury there. So that's good. And it just, I'm feeling very positive and optimistic about things more than I have been. Of course, it may have something to do with the new pills that I'm on, but that always helps.
Right.
But I am feeling pretty positive and pretty optimistic about opportunities in my future, and kind of seeing where that goes. And, as far as the meds are concerned, I had a great talk with my psychiatrist, I think I mentioned last time. And, weaning myself off of one, getting myself back on to more that I kind of got away from. And it's going well, and I can feel the difference.
Yeah.
And anyone who's been on a mood alter, it's the weirdest feeling when you hit the floor and you hit the ceilings. Yeah. I'm just saying it now.
Yeah.
Because the medicine puts a floor and a ceiling on your emotions.
Yeah.
And can be a deficit sometimes, because sometimes you want to get really excited or really sad. But for the most part, giving up those super highs and super lows is okay, compromise to get balance.
Yeah. That trade-off is definitely worth it. Like, for me to get a floor, I'll gladly give up those absolute highs if I don't have the lows, because like I've said before, I'm probably not going to think suicide if I'm extremely high, but low, there's those thoughts creep into your mind then. So that's an easy trade-off for me. But you're right, though. When you feel that floor after not having it for a while or whatever, it's an amazing thing. It's hard to describe, but it really is almost just that there's something solid underneath you. You can't fall further,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I kind of hit that with everything that I've had too, because just knowing where I've been in the past with things, I could have gone a lot farther south than I have.
Right.
Yeah.
And once you were talking about that, just sort of like the barriers on each end, and there is that point, and I'm like, you know what? That must be like what I hit.
Mm-hmm.
But so you were totally spot on about that. You were awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the funniest feeling, and I literally in my head going, I need to be sadder than I am. In my head, you're at the floor. Like, no, that's it. That's as sad as you go.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird because, you're like, or I need to get another circumstance. I got really angry, but my really angry could only get really, to only go to this certain point. And it's like, no, I need to be angrier than this. And
that I don't have a problem with.
Right. But I'm on a higher end.
Yeah, I know.
So
You're also by nature not as angry of a person as I am.
Very true. So it's been very interesting getting adjusted back to the meds and stuff, but it's been really good. It's been a really solid week. And then I've had a lot of opportunities to reminisce lately, with going through my uncle/grandmother's house and seeing a bunch of old pictures and some old things that had a lot of memories. My mom sent me a video for her 40th birthday party. That was about 30 years ago. So she shot me some videos about that. So I got to reminisce and see my grandmother that I haven't seen in many, many years because she passed. My aunts and uncles when they're, in their 40s and 50s versus 60s and 70s. So it was just a lot of bittersweet ups and downs, kind of crazy, but optimistic and good. And I'm not fearing anything really right now, so I'm kind of in that great place. But just wanted to share.
Right. Nice.
So how about you, Brian? How you doing?
Yeah, I guess no. This is honestly, this has been a pretty awful week for me because I've had just brutal headaches every day but one this week, including right now I have a pretty bad one.
And that sucks.
And they're just, and I know it's because our weather right now is really kind of up and down. It's warm, then it's cold, it's warm, it's cold, and then we have precipitation, just all that stuff. The changes like that trigger migraines for me. And it's just really stunk. I mean, I've most of the days really all I've wanted to do was just sit in a dark room, and like that's the last thing I truly want to do, but it's the only thing that really helps, kind of like what Henno was saying when he got off of work. Yeah. You hit that point and you're just like, I just want to shut everything off, like I've said before, it just like hurts to even have your eyes open, that kind of thing. It's really awful. So, yeah, that's gone on, which, I missed my, I had a psychiatrist appointment and I missed it because my headache was so brutal. Like I barely opened my eyes so that I could read on my phone to call the doctor to, reschedule. And as soon as I was done, it was phone back down, mask over my eyes and right back to, being in bed. So, it's unfortunate because now that's happened twice in a row with that. So I'm thinking next time, even if I have one of those headaches, I probably should just go. Not that I think he's going to really change much medicine wise, but it's just the idea that the check-in with him is something that, I'm supposed to be doing. So,
Sure.
But that is coupled with, I will say this, we've been having more sun lately, which has been nice because, I haven't been feeling as, down just because there's no sun outside, but what I am finding is for some reason, and Jen, you know this about me, I go through stretches where I feel really overwhelmed and there's nothing, like no one is putting any extra pressure on me. It's just, I feel like everything is on my shoulders and nothing is, or I feel like there's something that I'm not accomplishing or doing or whatever. And it's such a weird thing for me. And I've had this for a long, long time. It comes and goes. Like it usually sticks around for a few weeks and then I'm usually okay. But, it is definitely something I would have been telling the psychiatrist, because maybe that's a maybe there's a tweak in medicine I need to, especially with the seasonal stuff and whatever, to maybe I need a little higher dose in the winter and lower, back down in the summer or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's just one of those times where it just kind of feels like everything's hitting at once, and that adds to the overwhelming feeling. And that's why, I keep doing the podcast and stuff, because they're that out, they're an out for me. So yeah, it's, something that was interesting is when Heno mentioned about the music, and how he, he likes it and he feels like it was missing or whatever. I was actually just reading a post earlier today. I forgot what site it was. I think I still have it up here. I think it was on Tiny Buddha, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And I'll have it in the show notes. It's called, How to Find That Something That Feels Missing. And I clicked on it to read because it's something that I've had that, because I think for years and years, like I think I said this last week, it's like in my head, it's always been stuff will fill that. And you realize the longer you live, stuff doesn't fill that hole. There's some sort of a satisfaction, or, satisfying feeling in life, or, accomplishment or something that and it's, so I read this, and it's a pretty good post about a woman who was a lawyer and basically just carrying tons of stress to where her doctor was like, you need to quit your job, kind of a thing. So in her quest from that point to find, something that was more fulfilling for her, basically. So, it was just kind of it's interesting. We've talked about on the show sometimes where things will just come up organically for us, and we end up talking about it. And it's funny how articles on some of these sites are the same way. Sometimes it'll be something that's really heavy on your mind, and it'll just be like the perfect thing to kind of help you reframe, where you're at. And this was a, pretty good one to kind of, I don't know what the word for it is. Kind of, just give you a pat on the back. Just be like, look, this is something others are going through too. Here's what I did to help. So. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I threw something in our little, chat there for, Jen.
Yes. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can put this in the show notes too. This goes to the,
yeah, I will.
Codependency. It's called the Karpman Drama Triangle. And this is a great article about the Karpman Drama Triangle and how, where you could probably find something, we can all find something generally in there.
Yep. I'm looking through it as we speak, actually.
Exactly.
It's definitely worth a chat.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's that, and that's also what I was, I went down to Twin Falls with Tara, and on our way back, we were just having a great conversation about this, and we were talking about fear, and she wasn't that familiar with codependency, and so, she asked me, she said, okay, can you describe codependency to me? And I said, yeah, control. And she's like, what? It's like, that's not, and I'm like, it's about control. And it just goes against everything you've ever heard. Everyone thinks, codependent is a doormat. It's like, no, they want control. And when you get into the Karpman triangle, you see where that happens.
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating conversation because it really is, for me, it was just such an unbelievable look at how I am in relationship, and also seeing how other people I've been in relationship with, where it's like, oh, that's why they did this thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a great thing. And it applies to work. It applies to, typically it's, family, but yeah, that's a great little thing. Yeah. You know what? Real quick, I wanted to share with, Clint, when, my grandfather died, my mother told me to basically, was I at college? I was. She said, don't come home, stay there. There's nothing for you to do here. I was like, and not like I was close with him. It's not like we called and, I called him and talked to him on the phone or anything.
Right.
But when I'd go see him, he played mandolin, and I had, and I play guitar, and every once in a while we play together, little things like that. And I had that instant, like, I felt guilty about the fact that I wasn't there for the funeral. And then he left me his mandolin.
Wow.
And, right. And it was one of those things where I trusted my mother.
Yeah.
And she can be very practical in these ways. And she was right. There really wasn't anything. I didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that I had to be part of, I was already in his life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he left me the mandolin.
Right. And that's the difference, is that most people need to be at the funeral or the showing or whatever, because they need closure. There's something that they get out of that. I'm generally like you were just saying, excuse me, it's like, I've honestly, I don't go to funerals that much anymore because I generally don't need them,
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple in my life that I've needed, but even then, looking back, I don't really think I did. I think I just, looked at it as though I did. And that's just in my mindset, is very similar to that, is that whatever I had with them was what we did while they were alive. Nothing changes when they die. Like, I can't fix something that was unfixed. I can't, make things work. You know what I mean? Like, I can't alter that relationship. It's done. It's finished. So unless there's something I feel I need to get out of my system, there's no real point to me. So I get it, but I've felt guilt for some that I've not gone to, but then, like I said, I'm just kind of like, cause I know a lot of times people will go for someone else or whatever, which is just a weird concept to me too. Cause like when my dad died, there were so many people there. And honestly, the last thing I wanted was 1,000 people around me. I really just wanted to be left alone or be with my core family or whatever. So, yeah.
And I know I'm sure, like, I honestly don't know. I mean, I know my uncle was at the funeral, my cousin, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure the question was, well, where's Heno? Well, he's at college.
Yeah.
He's at the university. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody understood that. Yeah. And this is the way my mother looked at it. Live your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That your grandfather would want you to live your life. And it's the same thing that Jen brought up. It's like, Clint, go on the dates, enjoy it, love it. When you need to be there, you'll be there. Yep. Like you said, when it comes time to drop everything and go somewhere, then when it's time to go there. In the meantime, it's, a life. I've seen people who live their lives the other way.
Yeah. And
it's not a happy existence. Yeah. And they can't possibly share, like if you wallowed in the misery of everything that happened, then like Clint wouldn't be there for the new employees to, mentor them and show them, which I love that too. I love teaching where it's something that I've learned to be good at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a teacher, and I realized I get to be a teacher at my work.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime someone wants to learn something and I know how to do it, I get to be a teacher. I love that. But I'm not going to be a good teacher if my brain is somewhere else. And to me, it's like that, like, it comes back to for me, it's like, be the right size for the situation.
Yeah.
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 There's a time to be, there's a time to be in one place, in one place or one way. And there's a time, not to be.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing here too, is that, we only look at it from the side that we're seeing here, but things could be weird. Like if, let's say you didn't go on a date or you canceled dates, maybe you canceled, let's say 3 dates because you felt you should be with your family. Maybe then she doesn't want to go on more dates. And I'm not doing a what if scenario for the sake of like distorted thinking. It's just, if things had gone that way, then you would potentially have, maybe not resentment, but you'd have that what if.
You may miss out.
Yeah, like, like, wow, I just sat here. No one really, I could have. So I think you're just better off living if you can. And, like you said, it's different if if it's like, hey, everyone's coming over to kind of, be together and you're like, Yeah.
It's all about making sure that we understand where the influence is coming from. You know,
motive. What's the motive?
Yeah. What's the motive? Am I doing this to myself because that's what my nature is to do? Or is there really something else behind this that I need to do?
Yeah.
Some things I just know intrinsically I need to do for me. And one of them, a very close friend of Brian and I's, passed away very suddenly when he was in his early 20s. We were all in our 20s. And his brother and I had been close throughout high school and stuff. And I knew I needed to be, he didn't have a girlfriend or anybody, significant close to him in that manner. I knew I needed to be with him. So, at the showing, I sat with him and I held his hand and I was there for him because I knew that's where I had to be, and that was it. And and sometimes you just get those feelings and that, for you, you're like, no, I need to be at this funeral or I need to be here for this person because that's where my feelings are, and that's not to be discounted at all.
Nope.
But if you don't have that push, you don't have that urgency inside you that says, I have to have this, I need to do this, then don't do it for somebody else just because,
Yeah.
You have to find that balance.
I'll say this though too. I think who you're doing it for can change that to some extent.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if it's like with me with my dad, I didn't need the closure of the funeral, but I certainly was going to be there for my mom.
Absolutely.
That kind of a thing. And my grandma, so there is some wiggle room in that, but I know what you're getting at though.
Yeah. I knew at one point I was going to need closure. And I actually took that opportunity when I was at the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was there in the room and I'm looking down, at her in the bed.
Yes.
And that was the only thing that was running through my mind for a few minutes was that this is the last time I'm going to see Ginger. This is the last time I'm ever going to be able to have words come out of my mouth and fall on her whether she hears them or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to have to be my goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were other like funerals and wakes and things that I've gone to. Like a few years ago, my Uncle Billy had passed away and the wake, actually it was very weird. The wake was on my birthday.
Oh, that's a little odd.
Yeah. But, timing, I guess. But anyway, I made a point to go to that, because, I hadn't seen him in a while and I knew that, cause he had, moved to New Mexico, but then had just shortly, before he passed, came back up here. And I knew, and we just hadn't had a chance to get back together, and then he passed, and it was like, I knew I had to be there, because otherwise there was going to be this whole unfinished,
right?
Like just thing just hanging over me the whole time, and I knew that. And I remember just, standing up there looking down at the coffin, and I was like, well, this wasn't how I was planning our last hang time to be, but...
Yeah, right.
Well, a very wise man once told me when he was passing away, on his last journey, and he looked at me, and we were very sad. And he He looked at me and I asked him, I said, why aren't you sad? He's like, I know what's happening to me. You don't know a life without me. He's like, so it's okay to be sad, but it's not okay to stop. You got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny. I remember my grandmother when she was on her deathbed, and I'm thinking that I feel like part of her did this just to, make me laugh or something. But when I lived in Florida, she taught me how to cook. And there was, she's the full-blooded Italian and had recipes handwritten on scraps of paper, shoved into other books. And
right.
One such recipe she taught me, she wouldn't let me go back and write it down. She made me commit it to memory, and she made me promise never to tell anybody else this recipe. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can cook it. Nobody can ever help me prepare it.
Right, yeah.
Because then they know what's in it, and then I have to kill them.
Right.
It's like, sorry, you know too much.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
The secret is that she would just open like a jar of ragu and just pour it. No. Yeah.
No, I can assure you that's not it.
No, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was funny because there she is, like laying on her deathbed. I couldn't go down to Florida for the funeral because I had just come, literally just a few weeks before, just came back up to Illinois.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone with her, and unfortunately, I knew it was the last time I was ever going to talk to her. And she told me, she's like, Clint, just remember, if you tell your mother this recipe, I am going to haunt you.
Nice.
And I'm like, I won't, Grandma. I love you.
Yeah. That's really funny. To
this day, I kept that promise.
There you go.
Which, the only part that kind of stinks about that is it's like, unless you pass it to someone else at some point, it's like at some point this could die with someone, which would be a shame. But I understand not wanting to have it written down to where, it gets all over the place, and then it kind of loses some of that intimacy that it currently has,
Yeah. And I already have plans on, sharing it with somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know that I want to pass it on to one of my nephews when they get older and learn how to cook, and, because I don't have any kids of my own, so I can't pass it down that way.
Right.
Yeah. You're still young.
Yeah, but, certain lady friends, not so much. Well, that's a conversation for another day.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
But with my current options, I'll just say that I'm gonna have to pass it on to my nephews in a number of years when they learn to cook. Still keeping it in the family and passing it on to a younger generation. I
do have to ask though. Is it a good recipe? Like, does it make good food?
Oh, it is very good.
Okay, good.
I've even, I still occasionally make it to this day, and I've made it, even cooked it for dates.
Nice.
And they have loved it.
Yes, nothing's worse than a secret recipe that's being passed down through generation that tastes like crap.
Yeah.
I want you to take this secret to your deathbed. No problem.
Yeah, there's a reason I haven't passed it on.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question for you, Clint. When you've cooked it for dates, do you tell them the story with it?
No, because when I did,
yeah.
Well, I told it for one date.
Okay.
Because any other time I had cooked it, she was still alive.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
So there wasn't a story at that time to tell.
Okay. Yeah.
But the one opportunity I had, I did tell a little bit of it. Because they're like, hey, where did you learn to make this? So,
yeah.
I told them, from who and where, and I was like, she told me before she passed, literally right before, that I was not to share this with anybody.
Right. Well, because usually stories like that really resonate with people because they really, they really feel like you're sharing part of you with them. You know,
sure.
Because that sauce is or not sauce, whatever it was. It's guarded, you know, and held in a regard by your grandma and you, and you know, like that kind of a thing. So there's kind of a specialness to it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that actually came out on the date with Kate tonight, and you know, it was kind of cool because she had her own story about, you know, something that, you know, she had done with her sisters that, you know, they weren't. You know, that they were, you know, keeping just to themselves. And
yeah.
It's good to have some little family secrets.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have any.
And they're nothing devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be different.
You know, my mom's going to be fine without knowing this particular chicken dish, you know?
Yeah.
Because I will say this, it is a chicken dish of some sort.
Mm.
Nice. Well, I got, at my wedding, we have a family traditional pastry called kolachki. And
I know kolachkis very well.
Yeah, there's a variety of different kolachki. This kolachki, it's the stars and the bars. You know, the stars have jam in them, and then the bars have nuts in them. You know, and it's real flaky. So my grandmother's recipe came from, it's passed down through generations. It was learned by heart at a hotel that had a fine pastry chef and stuff. Lots of family tradition, shall we say. Mm-hmm. So my cousin made it for me for my wedding. And so people at my wedding, of course, got to taste this family tradition. Somebody at my wedding worked at a bakery and asked for the recipe.
Wow.
So that's when you come to that crux in life. You're like, oh, what do I do? So, and it's a very close friend of the family. So it's, you know, it's not just some random person. This is a very good friend of the family. So I'm like, so I asked her, I'm like, you know what? Let me put a pin in this. And I need to ask the family. It's like, because grandma's already passed. I can't ask her. So I need to ask the family if they're okay with me giving the family recipe out. And they were. So, I have yet to give it up yet. But I did tell her that I will make a copy of it and I will give her the recipe. But the kolachki, because you're right, their kolachki is fabulous. The one my family makes takes about 3 days to make.
Wow.
Yeah, because you have to fold the dough with pretty much pounds of butter. And, it's just pounds upon pounds.
Not
of butter.
exaggerating. Yeah.
The dough with more butter.
Yeah.
So, but it is fabulous. And nobody makes it like my grandmother made it, but
that's
my
true.
cousin does an amazing job. She goes really close. So, I guess, I don't know, guys. I think we had a really great conversation. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Are we good?
No, I'm good.
Good? All right. Good.
Everything's good.
Fun was had.
Sweet. All right. Fun was had. Absolutely right. It was really great having you on board, Clint. And then I guess
thanks again, guys. I love every time I get to be here and hang with you guys.
Awesome. Well, why don't we? So I guess I need to do my traditional. If you want to continue the conversation with us, folks, you can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can reach us via email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com, or you can reach us through our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. And I'm going to throw it to you, Clint. How can they reach you if they want to talk with you?
They can't. No, I'm kidding. Actually, you can hit me up on Twitter at Vengeful Jedi. You can also find me as part of the Geek Dig podcast. You can go to geekdigpod.com, which has all the links to all the platforms there. The link to our email, which is geekdigpod@gmail.com. The Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/geekdigpod. And I get all of that notifications directly. So, yeah, that is where you can find me.
Awesome. And pimp yourself out here, Henno. Is there a place that we can find your music yet?
No, not yet.
Sure there is. At the beginning of this show and Salty Language.
Yeah, exactly.
And on vintage episodes of the Green Up podcast.
Yeah.
We want to start hearing some of this music, mister.
Yeah, I happened to actually go onto my Monkey Tongue Productions on SoundCloud and I uploaded some more podcast intros that I'd never posted there. Like I did another one for Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks, and I was going through but yeah, all those ones are on there. Green Up and everybody else. But what was funny is when Clint said, you can't get a hold of me, I was like, yeah, he's busy isolating.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's so needs to be a doormat. Yeah. Leave me alone. I'm isolating.
Yeah, no, it is. I found it. Sharon and I have a very close friend who has a very emo teenager, and so I considered buying the doormat. Instead, I just bought her a door hanger for her room, which she loved. Best gift ever.
Nice.
But you can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. You can find me on Facebook, Heno Heiter, and yeah, like I said, if you want to hear some of the stuff I've done, you can go to Monkey Tongue Productions on SoundCloud.
Awesome. And you, Brian?
You can find the show on Twitter at whoops, I had it right here. The Crazy Life Pod. I don't know why I couldn't remember if I had the at the front of it or not. You can find me at Stunami. My other podcast can be found at saltylanguage.com or at salty_language on Twitter. That show is not safe for work. I forgot where.
Although it gets played at my work regularly.
Yes, with headphones.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'd hope so. Otherwise, that'd be weird.
and from the work computer, because I'm a rebel like that.
Yeah, Clint lives dangerously.
Yeah, he does.
Gonna go platinum.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys got that reference. No? Mm-mm. All right, Double Gone Platinum.
You lost me.
All right.
It is me.
Oh, I see. I see. Forgot what I was going to do. Oh, we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So go give a look-see at that site and see if there's some other podcasts there you may enjoy. Really feel like I'm forgetting something in the links here. No? All right. Oh, that's what it is. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. That was the other one.
And also the disclaimer. Remember the disclaimer that, the major disclaimer that we are not professionals?
Oh, yeah. I was trying to make sure I got all the links first, though, but yeah. We're not doctors, therapists, or professionals of any kind. We're just 4 people this time, sharing our experiences and thoughts. If you feel as though you need help, please reach out to someone and get professional help. Don't self-diagnose, and please do not mistake or try to replace therapy with this show. That's self-medicating. Just please go talk to the doctor, get the estimate, and then you can decide what to do from there. Man, I am just blanking today. It's this damn headache.
Sure.
Anyway, if you feel as though you may harm yourself or others, please reach out to someone in your support system. If you don't really have one, reach out to a doctor, call 911, suicide prevention hotline number. There's a, what is it, 841, I think it is. You can text, like help or something like that too. There's a whole bunch of help out there for people. You just have to ask for it, if you find yourself writing a note or, seeing how, writing down how you would do something, or, in light of other things, if you know somebody else who's doing that, please try to get them help or, whatever, just make sure you tell somebody, because those are giant red flags. And the sooner you get help, the better the situation can be. And, then lastly, please reach out to somebody. I've had to do it this past week because, I was being distant with people. But, reach out to somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Super easy with the world we live in today. You can text, you could fire off a text to so many different people in the matter of minutes,
Yeah.
So reach out to somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or just tell somebody you love them, as we're learning like this situation that Clint's dealt with or my family dealt with. You just don't leave things unsaid. If you appreciate somebody, just tell them. And, plus it can make their day or maybe save lives.
Absolutely. So far this week, I've been told I have a nice smile. I've been told I'm very pretty by one of my drivers. And I've been told I'm incredibly smart by my new trainee. All things seriously made my week. Like, I was on cloud 9 off of each and every one of them, folks.
Sure.
So it's simple as that.
Yep.
All true things that they felt and they wanted to share. All things that just literally made my day better. So simple as that. So with that, and if you want to be like Clint, folks, all you have to do, contact us. You can come join us too. So talk to you later.